right. So from now and until now, we talked about a lot of like previous events for the Olympics. But right now, I'm going to talk about the future event, which is 2016 Rio Olympic in Brazil. And I know a lot of you have different idea about Rio. Usually, people think that Rio is a good city for travel, and there is like big sculptures out there, just oversee the mountain areas and the bay areas. So a lot of people have some ideas about Rio, but um, if I start this, I can give you guys one thought from my colleagues from Brazil. They said all the negative things about World Cup and Olympic right now, which is unusual. In the past, my country, I'm from South Korea, and we did host the Olympic back in 1988. I was like fifth grader in U.S., and we did have all the good things about Olympic because that was showcase that we can like show our economic power and our societal power to the world. But right now, we have some reverse like atmosphere for the Olympic and World Cup right now. There is some reason why because of Greece and because of Vancouver. First of all, Greece faced a bankrupt because of hosting Olympic back in 2004, and they are still figuring out to pay back the debt right now. And one time they couldn't pay all the public workers' salary for 3 months because of there is no money for governmental support for the public workers. And Vancouver did have same problem, not the monetary problem, but they did have some problem because of social conflict, because they tried to wipe out some poor areas and they kicked out 50,000 homeless people from the city of Vancouver to outside the city so that they could show better like aspect of city of Vancouver to the world. So Rio does have same problem, even though I put this title with the Brazil globalization and the Olympics. And I'm gonna be only one who talks about a lot of negative things about Olympic right now, which I feel really bad, but that's a true, like aspect about the mega sport event right now. Even though we have still high demand for hosting a mega sport Olympic event. So briefly, we have lots of positive and negative impact. So first of all, mega sport event as a one-time sport event that usually generate long-term profound impact, both positive and negative side, including economic and social impact and psychological impact. So you can see direct and indirect impact for as a double barreled impact for hosting mega sport events such as Olympic and World Cup and Super Bowl. You guys know Super Bowl, and you guys think that is a mega sport event, but outside the U.S., people do not know about the football, and they call football as soccer. So there is difference, but in the U.S., a lot of people think still Super Bowl is a mega sport event, which is really big size of event. But outside the U.S., a lot of people think that Olympic and FIFA World Cup, even some people said World Cup rugby competition, those are the mega sport event by the other people outside the U.S. So they be direct and indirect. So direct means like attendance, ticket sales, and economic sales generation and monetary values. Indirect, there is the infrastructure development and community pride because of hosting Olympic. I think I'm better citizen because I belong to this country. We host the Olympic, which I did have toward my Olympic back in my country. And potential impact has two different sides: substantial economic impact and psychological and social impact. So we have, multi nature of the impact from hosting event. So this is a monetary value by Forbes magazine back in 2010, and they evaluate one day income, one day economic value for the event. So Super Bowl, by the one day event, they are the highest ranked event in the world. So $420 million. But you can see that by the one day, Olympic generate 30 million dollars of economic impact, and FIFA World Cup about 120 million dollars of impact by daily operations. So there is some big time sport out there, a sport event out there. And for the economic impact, we have lots of different things. But for example, attract a substantial amount of people, so visitors, because of Olympic, because of World Cup, they visit that country. Unlike Russia's example, such was not the case, that I heard from Dr. McFarland. But other, event like China, they did have a lot of visitors, and because of that, they had blooming of their tourism. Even though they did have a lot of tourism site before, but because of that, they have more infrastructures for the tourism. And social psychological impact, which is really focused on these days because we cannot see intangible benefit of hosting Olympics right now. But there's more focus right now because we have learned that a lot of Olympic and World Cup did lose a lot of money for hosting. There is a lot of construction costs and security costs. So with all that, I can ask you guys why Rio does host this event right now, even though there is a lot of negative perception and attitude by public, because they have lots of different reasons. And I'm gonna skip this video. Well, this is about the video that used by Rio Olympic Committee to host the event. And this is about 10.5 minute video, so I'm gonna skip it, but in that video there is a lot of tourism information and there is a lot of like bright scene of Rio instead of giving the bad side of Rio. Because Rio does have a lot of ghetto areas, like slum areas, but they didn't put over here because of promotion of the event. So you can see this is actually image from the Rio's like seaside, and this is really big city, and they beat Chicago and they beat Madrid and they beat Tokyo at the time. So they were perceived as the biggest city among the competition at the time, which means supported the event properly. So they have three types of like main like concept appeal to the to the world, because they the first country ever host the event Olympic in South America. So that's the appeal that we should have this event in South America continent, so that we can represent South America. And unity, because of Brazil, the size of country is really big, and they have lots of smaller tribe over there. So there is a lot of civic like dispute. So they said that because of this Olympic, we can develop this types of unity for this country. And New Frontier, because of first Olympic in South America, they said that it's gonna really big movement for whole South America, not just for the Rio and Brazil. So based on that, they defeat they went through 3 rounds of bidding process. Voting process. So first time, and there is an interesting number from here. Dr. Ditumor already explained about politics of Olympic. So in the past, in the first round, Brazil only had 26 votes, and Madrid did have 28 because of supported by European countries. But after then, U.S. knocked out from the first round. They moved to Brazil, so they had 46 because U.S. can have some more benefit because of media coverage. It's going to be really easy to use same timeline, so time zone, so they can use more promotions and sponsorships advertisement. And as a result of third round, Rio beat Madrid by 66 by 32. And for the process, they spent about $44.7 million just for the bidding process. So they spent about $44 million. So which is huge amount of money just spent for bidding process. Luckily they won. If they didn't win the case, they're just like wasting money for that campaign. So first, you can think of some monetary concern right now by the public. So I'm gonna talk about all the good things from now on. I'm not really like negative on Olympic. I love the negative, Olympic, the spirit of Olympic, but this is the exact information from Rio Olympic Committee right now. And pre-game, they won the case, the bidding from back in 2009, and they prep about 2,500 days for the Olympic. And right now, they have a problem. They are in the big problem. Even for the World Cup, they have only 1 month left for the World Cup. About 1/3 of stadium are not finished for the World Cup. And Olympic, there is more problems because they try to wipe up some areas so that they can put new stadiums and arenas over there, permanent or temporarily. But they cannot do that right now because of social conflict by public. So there is a lot of problem, and there is no support, enough support by economic side of Brazil. Only 40% or less supported by federal government. 60%, they somehow need to find out some source to support that event. So this is a number that more than like 10,000 athletes will attend, and 28 sports. And in terms of globalization's perspective, there were 2 more sports for the Olympic. So one is rugby, not 11-person, but 7-person rugby, so that they can have more fast, like phase of game. And there is another one, which is a golf. a lot of people can see that why golf should be in the Olympic, because this is still perceived as a luxurious sport. But there is a lot of participants for the golf, and a lot of countries still enjoy the golf. So there is a lot of elite level players who can join the Olympic, and there is no PGA, like agreement to stop the event, because individual golfer can't just join the Olympic. So there is easy way to join that Olympic compared to MLB for the baseball. So those are two new sports. So in terms of the globalization perspective, they're gonna have more diverse event for the Olympic in Rio, which is better than just last Olympic, because baseball was not there in China. They just built a new baseball stadium, and MLB sent all the baseball coaches for the China so that they could take part in that event. And this is number of stadium. 17 existing venues will be used, and 10 of those will undergo renovation. There is a big problem with this. And 8 will be temporary because they learned from London, and both London and Greece. Greece use more fixed constructions types of venues, and London did use more temporary types of venues because of their tourism site, and they did want to have preservance of their country in the culture. So there are some challenges, and there are some adoption of that new trend. And this is number of the concern that we have about environmental concern, because of Rio is still big city. Already they are really big city, and there is a lot of areas that they can build up new stadiums. So they're gonna have some types of demolition of green areas, but they're gonna try to keep that areas up, preserve that areas of the green areas, so that they can mitigate some types of negative perceptions. So you could see these types of media line. This is a media timeline that when they won the bidding, a lot of people just enjoy that moment at the time, and there is a positive outcome of the newspapers, like there is a positive social economic benefit for Brazil. But since then, they learned that this is not going to happen in Brazil. So there is a lot of negative outcomes from the media side. So you can see the title, the 2016 Rio Olympic are the logistical nightmare, and you can see a city full of social issues right now. And everyone is already panicking about the Olympic Games in Rio, including IOC, because there is not a lot of prepared stages for the facilities right now. And as a last one, you can see that preparation for Rio Olympic the worst. This is the actual comment by Vice President of IOC. So that guy mentioned that this is not the Olympic that Rio can make it. So there is like Mr. Taylor talked about briefly, there is some discussion about moving cities to others. And it's going to really complicate it, because there is a lawsuit, probably, if they change the site to different site. And there is a lot of negative perception by some of the stakeholders toward IOC, because IOC is just focusing on commercialization. So there is a lot of dispute still remained in the air right now. So what are the expected outcomes? I'm gonna just skip through quickly. This is number that they are looking for by the Institute of Administration at the University of São Paulo, funded by Brazil IOC, Brazil Olympic Committee. They said that about $102 billion by Brazilian dollars, so which is about $22-23 billion of direct outcome of economic benefit for the hosting communities by Olympic. And this is actual map of the Rio. So you have 4 different zones that's gonna host all the events. So there are 4 zones, and I'm not gonna talk about all this, but these are the 4 zones that in the majority of stadiums and venues will locate. And here is a Deodoro zone, and you can see the mountain areas over here. This is actual photo of the mountain areas, and this is the slum areas of the Rio de Janeiro. Usually poor people live over there. And the cost of that real estate by 3 days after hosting that event, after they designed these areas, raised up 50%. So 50% of rent just raised up by 3 days. So people have big concern about this right now. Inflation is outrageous right now over there, and the tax system of Brazil is not like U.S. It's not like European system. So there is a lot of concern about this. So this is actual statement by former ex-president, and he mentioned that all the good things about the Olympic, and he had really bright picture about we're going to have really big impact by this Olympic. And Based on this, you can see there is a economic cost and benefit of Rio, and I will give you, a few slides for this. So $14 billion from Brazilian taxpayers will be spent for hosting Olympic, and you can see altogether $33 billion of money will be spent for the Olympic. And Sochi Olympic in the past, that's the worst Olympic ever because they spent more than $50 billion. Actually, they said that they're not going to spend more than $10 billion, but they ended up with $50 billion. It's going to be same as like Montreal Olympic back in '70s. They just luckily paid back all the debt about 2 or 3 years ago. So there is a big concern about this excessive spending right now. And the research by University of Sao Paulo said that because of the unique aspect of hosting two mega sports events back-to-back, 2014 World Cup and 2016 Olympic, they said the total amount of $120 billion of economic impact will be generated by hosting two major sport events to the Brazil, not for the just Rio itself, but the Brazil. So Brazil government said that also they're going to spend about $66 billion on long-term infrastructure development, which is going to be really social benefit, like beneficially for providing better like lifestyles and life atmosphere for the public. So they're going to build a new road system, railways, and marinas. And also more visitors can be derived because of their hosting event. Rio still has 1.4 million people per year to visit that city. And they said that at least 3 times more visitors because of Olympic, after the Olympic. So there is a lot of positive side, but my question is why a lot of people are skeptical about hosting Olympic in Rio right now? Well, you may have different ideas about Olympic. If you guys are not big fan of Olympic sport, which US does right now, we are more focusing on professional sport than Olympic, and we are really negative on stopping the professional sport because of Olympic. But other countries has more focus on Olympic, and they see that Olympic as a really valuable asset for boosting their economies and develop their social status among the world. But a lot of people in Brazil has concern about this right now. So they are really skeptical about the government proposed urban reform because they learned from previous event. In 2007, they had a Pan Am game, which is a game just like Olympic style game by countries by specific reason. So they did have that game in Rio back in 2007. They said that they're going to have a lot of benefit, but they did have a lot of negative benefit, and they spent 10 times more than their planned expenses. And also, there is a lot of problem by social waste. So formalize the service, which means increase the bills of taxes. And Olympic project forced eviction from their original living places and living areas. And also very distant public housings right now. So there is a lot of negative perception for this. So how to fix this and how to promote the positive side of Olympic? We can have more focus on intangible benefits because Olympic has lots of benefits and lots of positive impact, no doubt. So we need to focus on that better PR campaigns to boost that positive side and mitigate negative side. And also Brazilian government need to stand up to be clearly understand and give more introduction, their plan to their publics. And also they need to increase the intangible benefit using social benefits and keeping the legacy of Olympic, and also increasing side income such as pride and community involvement and community enhancement and media visibilities. So that's gonna be all together go to the Olympic, and with that, I believe Olympic has still potential to be a better and positive outcome and asset for hosting communities, but Rio does have problems. So that's the reason why I said in the beginning of this presentation, I'm gonna be a more negative side, but still I love the spirit of Olympic, and I believe that Olympic can have better outcome than just our recent phenomenals. So this is all my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd welcome to have any questions. That's good because a lot of articles conducted a lot of research articles conducted by Brazilian scholars on Olympic and World Cup. They said that they have same suggestions just like you. You know, we have to minimize the tangible spending, which means that do not collect more taxes, because that's really directly impact to the social leverage of the hosting Olympic by publics. Because public has, have really big fear about that collecting more taxes, and based on my understanding and based on my conversation with the Brazilian colleagues, from the reason they said that, well, they don't want to have more tax collection because they still and they already had outrageous tax systems. And in order to buy cars, they have to pay triple more money compared to US. It's outrageous over there. They just overcome those things by themselves, still. But they right now face more taxes because the government doesn't have enough money for supporting the event right now. So I would say that spending more money for PR, spending more money for providing better understanding for the public can help, but it's going to cost a lot as well. But anyway, they're going to spend a lot of money. So why don't they spend more so that they can offset negative side of Olympic, so that they can have better legacy out of the Olympic? That's going to be my idea and suggestion right now. Any other questions?
Real quick one from the beginning of it. When you were talking about the amount of money that events bring in per day, you said like the Super Bowl brings in 420 million, and then the Olympics was, I don't remember the number, 230.
230. Yep.
So just to make sure I understand, so the Super Bowl brings in 420 million, but that's only one for one.
Yeah, just
per
one.
Day, that's only one day.
Yeah, just one day.
Whereas the Olympics are whatever 2 weeks long.
Yeah.
Does that just to make sure I understand the numbers? They bring in 230 million per day.
Yeah, per day by the Forbes.
Multiply
Right,
how
multiply
many
2
days
weeks
they have.
of that duration. So
In the end, they're bringing in a whole lot more money than something
right,
like the Super Bowl.
but in order to do that, they have to spend a lot of money upfront. So they call it opportunity cost, but that's outrageous right now. And security costs, for example, for the search, that's the second biggest concern for the spending. So they spend about more than $10 billion of security costs because of terrorism attack and concerns. And Brazil does the same aspect right now because of dispute by public. So.
All right, thank you.
Once again, on behalf of the Partnership for the Advancement of Sport Management, I'd like to thank the MRC for all their support, the College of Education, and the Department of Sport Management, but then also the presenters that were able to take part in the symposium today. Thank you.